All right, there's a stray torrent of news that I've kind of been on the back burner about the last couple days. I was waiting for it to pile up a little bit so we could cover it. But we have new cards starting off with Evil Hero, and I'm a little bit excited for this. Not so much the Evil Hero, more towards the support for Earthbound Immortals, but you take what you can get slowly. So, first up is the Supreme King Castle. You can fusion summon a fusion monster that must be special summoned with Dark Fusion with the effect of a card not named Dark Fusion. They've finally done it, ladies and gentlemen. They gave us a field spell that allows us to bypass the conditions on evil heroes and allow us to play Super Poly. Bada bing, bada boom. And once per turn, during damage calculation, if your fiend monster battles an opponent's monster, you can send one evil hero monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. Your battling monster gains attack equal to the sent monster's level times 200. This is pretty much what they needed, honestly. I'm a little bit perplexed by just the level of power creep that they're trying to push onto this archetype, but I'm a super huge fan of what they're trying to do here. And it kind of sucks you're going to have to maintain the field spell at all points in time, but super poly value is exactly what we want. Now, next up, this one's not so exciting. This is called the Ultimate Earthbound Immortal, and it's a continuous trap card. So you can only use the first effect of this card's name only once per turn, and it is if a normal summoned or set Earthbound Immortal monster is on the field, you can target one face-up monster on the field and destroy that monster. So right out of the floodgate, my first problem with this is it is a trap card. We've seen in the past the traps haven't been doing as much unless they're massive powerhouses. Granted, this allows every turn for me to destroy something, which is pretty good. I like that. Getting the passive interruption on the opponent's turn, pretty damn good. But it doesn't really do much else besides that. I mean, it gives me some sort of ability on the opponent's turn, but I mean, outside of that, yeah, you've already got to dedicate something to Earthbound Immortals, and unless the card allows me to essentially OTK my opponent, it's just not cutting it. That's honestly how I feel at this point. So, interesting design, just application kind of bad. Next up is the Perform Puppet, and I'm kind of excited for this. So, you can only use each effect of this card's first and second effects once per turn. So, first effect, you can banish one Gimmick Puppet monster that has a level from the graveyard until at the end of the turn. The levels of all monsters you control become the banished monster's level. So this was something that we were kind of talking about for a little while now, that Gimmick Puppets needed a way to kind of basically make everybody be able to be the same level. And they found a way for us to do that, all wrapped up into one spell card. And then, second effect here, if a face-up Gimmick Puppet monster you control is destroyed by battle or your opponent's effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of your banished Gimmick Puppet monsters and special summon it. So these two effects do go simultaneously hand in hand, which is actually pretty good for the most part here. Getting the ability to banish something. I don't know how easy it is for Gimmick Puppets to get a level 8 into the graveyard. I assume that it's pretty okay, but it's a nice recursion engine past turn 2 and turn 3 for more of the casual players that do want to play a Gimmick Puppet deck. But outside of that, I'm not a super big fan of this card once again. I mean, it massively helps the archetype, but it's not going to put this on the competitive map, which is something that, you know, we need for these archetypes. And then next up is Protoplanning. And it is a trap card, so I'm already discouraged to talk about this, but it is okay. So you can use each effect of this card's first and second effects once per turn each. So we can send one Predaplant monster from the deck to the graveyard to place one Preda counter on each face-up monster on the field. And if you do, any of those monsters that are level 2 or higher become level 1 as long as they have a Preda counter. So I actually am a huge fan of getting to mill off a Preda monster out of my deck. Anytime that I can get something synergized with my theme, I actually like that. I wish it said a plant monster, but you know, we can't always get what we want. Also, kind of, if we're able to set up a starving venom and start floodgating out our opponent through the actual effect of our dragon, then we're doing good. That's kind of what the deck wants to do at this point. So there's that. And if you fusion summon a dark monster while this card is in your graveyard, we can banish this card from our graveyard, target one card on the field, and destroy it. So once again, there's more of that multi-purposing value that we like out of our cards. But once again, I mean, is it really enough? Mill 1 Predaplant monster, though, does tickle my fancy a little bit. So there's the 4 new big ones. Then we got some stray support here, which is the Puppet Funeral, or Puppet Parade. I actually think that this is really cool for Gimmick Puppets. This is one of the best cards I think I've seen in a while. So, it is a normal trap card. I think that this should have been a spell. Let me repeat. This should have been a spell. I agree with Design Enigma's video, or DP Yu-Gi-Oh's video on this earlier. Literally, this should have been a spell. But it is pretty good. So if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, special summon Gimmick monsters with different names from your deck up to the difference. Then if your life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, your opponent's are 2,000 higher than yours, you get to set one rank up magic normal spell card directly from your deck. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except for Gimmick Puppet monsters. So we were only ever actually using this card during the end phase of our opponent's turn, where, you know, we're able to chain this during end phase, floodgate out a bunch of monsters. I believe in a slower format, this could actually do something. I like cards that, granted it's a trap card, I like cards that have these blow out a bunch of monster-esque effects, because these types of effects are good for the game. Also, if we're playing down and we get to set our rank up magic normal spell card directly from our deck, at least it doesn't say quick play, because God fucking knows what shit show we would be getting into there. But nonetheless, this card is very good. And then Evil Mind. So it's a normal spell card. You can only activate a card with this card's name once per turn. I'm automatically discouraged. So if you control a fiend monster, you can activate one of these effects based on the number of monsters in your opponent's graveyard. It's not yours, it's your opponent's. So if it's 1, we get to draw a card. So we can 1 for 1. Alright, that's pretty good. 4 or more, we get to add 1 hero monster or dark fusion from our deck to our hand, which is pretty good. And then 10 or more, we can add a Polymerization spell card or a fusion spell card from our deck to our hand. So you want to search for Super Poly? You can do it, as long as your opponent's got 10 monsters in the graveyard, which is pretty fucking bad. I'm not a super big fan of that, honestly, but I see what they were trying to do with this. But man, I have to control a fiend to just draw 1? Like, talk about the bad value here. Moving on along, we got Rocket Tracer. This one's been kind of floating around for a little bit. This is a new Dragon Tuner. This is something that we needed, honestly. It is 1,600, 1,000. Quick effect. So we can only use the first effect of this guy once per turn. So, quick effect, target 1 face-up card you control. For the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon from your deck except for dark monsters, and then destroy that card. And if you do, we get special summon a rocket from our deck, except for Rocket Tracer. So this is kind of something that the deck needed. We needed a more inept way to kind of spam out these creatures, and speeding up the rocket process. This card is good, don't get me wrong. For the in-home or in-house archetype that we're trying to push here, this is good. I'm just a little bit on edge for the rest of the support. Like, one good card doesn't make things good. That was with Worms. And last but not least, we got Protoplant Helamaphoranicus. God, I butchered that terribly. So this is 12, 20. This thing's level 8. Holy shit. So, you can only use the first and second effects of this card's name once per turn each. So if your opponent has a monster with a Predator counter, we get to special summon this card from our hand. If this card is destroyed by your opponent, doesn't say by battle or by card effect, you can target 1 dark monster, dragon, or plant in your graveyard, except for Pret Plant Helamaphoranicus, and special summon that monster. So we do get some sort of graveyard floating here. Alright. So, what I've gotten out of this so far is these new cards are pretty interesting for the in-house archetypes that we are coming with. I'm personally looking forward to some of these, especially the Earthbound Immortals support. You guys have actually no idea how much I'm waiting for that support. So guys, please leave a comment down below. know what you guys think about these new cards, Evil Heroes. I wait for your support too. Alright guys, I'm out. Peace. The ride never, well, truly ends. Thank you, patrons. Without you guys, I don't know what I'd be wearing in these videos. I might be a truffle shuffle incident all over again. Guys, please also check out Vanquil40 for some awesome Vanguard content. Some other interesting stuff you might find up here on the left or in the description as well. Thanks for watching.